Right, hi, welcome back to part 2 of making a small game in Gamemaker. In the last episode we made a small level, and this time we're going to now import our character sprites and get a small character on the screen. So go to your assets and go to your sprites, and we're going to create a sprite. So for this sprite, we're going to import it, and we're going to import the KNL character pack. So follow along, that's it. Should be fine. So there's the character pack. So I'm going to click edit image. Now I've decided to go with this green character, but you could equally go with any of the others. And what I want to do, I want to basically trim this down to get just these characters. So I really could do with knowing how big they are. So it looks like that's the bottom. So I think about there. So that tells me it is, if I put my cursor there, it's 24 by 24. So if I just go to about there, that should be, yeah, so 48 by 24. So that looks like there's two. So if I go to image and then crop to selection, I get my two sprites. And then if I go to image, convert to frames, we get this box here that allows us to create multiple frames of animation from this one image. So we've only got 2 frames, so number of frames 2. Frame width, well, I think it's 24 and the height is 24. So frames per row 2. So we've got 2 frames altogether. We've got 2 per row and the 24 by 24. And then we convert that, and now it appears it's cropped it, but it hasn't. It's just chopped them into individual images. So if I play that, it's very fast. If I just double click on it again, it takes me back into the other window where I can see the character, but I can change the frames per second. So let me just change it to, I don't know, 6. I'm just guessing, and then play it. We can see the character is now, that looks okay actually. You could try higher, 10. So it's completely up to you. I think I was happy with 6. So that's now our little character animation. So now we've got this, I'm going to rename this. I'm going to call it S Player. So by convention in Gamemaker, sprites should start with an S. When you're coding, it's very helpful because you'll just type S and then you'll get a list of your sprites. So I'm going to name that S Player. While I'm here, I'm going to rename this one as well. Rename S Tiles. So we know that they're both sprites because they begin with a lowercase s. Okay, let's make an object. So create an object, and we're going to name this O, small lowercase o for object, player. So O player. That's also here, and that again is the same sort of convention, that when we're in our code and we type O, it will give us a list of all the objects. It just makes it much easier for everyone to read, and as soon as you see that variable, you know what type of variable it is, whether it's a sprite or an object, etc. So let's go to sprite, go into the sprites folder, which is here, whoops, I did not mean to do that, I got carried away, S player. And now we've got our sprites there. So that's it for making the player. We're not going to do that much today. Now let's put the player in the room. So at the moment we're on the tile layer. Let's go to the instances layer and go to your assets, get the player and drag the player into the game. Just like that. So if I click play, we can see we've now got an animated player. We're not going to do much else this video, just get the player in and get that working. The other thing is, I was quite lucky how this fit. Because of the height of the grid, it seems to fit really well. But up here we've got grid settings. Now most of my tiles are 18 by 18. So if I tried putting the character in now, if I'd got the grid nicely set up for my level, it wouldn't actually work that easily. This tile there is 18 by 18, but my instance layer is actually, my sprites are 24 by 24. So that would be a better way to set it up, using the tile size and it remembers from each layer. So this one's set to 18 because the tiles are 18. On the instance layer it's set to 24 because these are 24. Now you'll notice that they line up but that one doesn't. So if that happened, what you can do, you can turn off snapping and you can zoom in and you can move it 1 pixel at a time if you wanted to do that. So that's just an alternative way. You turn the grid off completely as well. So I'm going to put snapping back on and put my character there. So that is just a short little video. I guess we could make the key while we're here. So I think that might be in the tiles. Yeah, so let's do this a different way. So let me just edit the image. So I'm editing the tile image and we've got the key there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just select that key object and I'm going to copy it, Control C. So I've copied it. I can actually paste it. I don't want to paste it. What I want to do is create a new sprite. Now, this sprite, because it's from the tile set, is, I'm going to call it S key, the sprite key. And the size of it is going to be, so I'll just click this little icon. It's going to be 18 by 18. If you want your object to not be square, just click the aspect ratio, turn it off, but mine is square. So now I've got an 18 by 18 square. I can click edit image and I should be able to hit paste, and I can then pop the key in there. So that's my key. I'm just going to leave it like that. I could change it, make it look a bit different, but that's fine. So then I come to my objects, make a new object, create object, and I'll call the object O key. And then I choose a sprite, go into my sprites, and I choose S key. And now I've got a key. Go to my room and go to my assets, get the object key, make sure I'm on the instances layer. If I do it on the tile layer, it won't allow me to do it. it'll say this asset can only be applied to an instance layer. So make sure you're on the instance layer, and we will drag the key on. So at some point we'll have to collect the key before you can exit the level. One more thing we'll do, which is really useful later on for the collision detection, is we're going to make a sprite from scratch to help us with the blocking and collision. So I'm going to go to create sprite, and I'm going to size it to 18 by 18 again. It has to match the tiles. Well, it doesn't have to match the tiles actually, but it's easier if it does. And then click edit image. So we've got within this software a full image editing tools. So I'm just going to go to the paint cam, click on red. I'm just going to double click on red and just turn the alpha down. So this makes it sort of transparent. Oops, I've done that twice. Something like that. So it's not fully opaque. I'm going to click on red, and I'm going to get the line tool, and I'm just going to draw a line around there. So I've got this red box, and this red box is going to be used for me to show where objects are solid. So I'm going to rename this sprite, I'll call it S solid. And then I'm going to make an object, create a new object, and we'll call it O solid. There we go. So we've got a solid object now, O solid, and we're going to give that a sprite, and we're going to give it the solid sprite. And then what we're going to do now, a little bit different, is I'm going to make a new layer, new instance layer, and I'm going to rename the layer, and I'm going to call it solid. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to drag on the solid block. I'm just going to change the grid to 18 by 18 because that's the size of the tiles. And see where we've got these platforms? I'm going to put this solid object here. I'm going to drag it and cover over that platform. So I'm going to do another one. I'm going to do it here. So it's solid on top. Probably shouldn't have put them bits on the end, but it won't matter. Here, I'm going to drag that one down. Here, I'm going to drag this one down. You can use the second Alt key or Alt key to do this as well, to make a new one. So it's a bit quicker. So this is all the solid areas on the map have been covered in here. I don't need this one underneath because I can actually drag that down, I guess, like that. Doesn't matter because you won't be able to get to that. So this solid area, if I take the tiles off a second, you can see where all the solid parts are of the level. And if I just hide the solid parts, it will look like that. So you won't be able to see these, but they're there for the game to know if it touches one of these solid objects, you can't go through it. It's solid. So in the next video, we'll be moving the character, we'll be applying gravity to it, and if it collides with this red box, it won't be able to go through it. So rather than actually looking at every individual tile, because we've got lots of different types of tiles, but we only need to check for this one solid object. This piece here, we'll be able to deal with that one separately, because that's going to be a special object where we can change rooms. So for now, we'll leave it there. We've got a key, we've got a player, we've got some solid walls. In the next video, we'll start doing some coding where we move the character about. I'm just going to leave that off for now. I'm going to run it just to test it all works and there's no issues. There we go. And in the next video, we'll get some action. I'll see you in the next episode.